You know, I remember a couple of years ago when I first started talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I started talking about how this Bucks team could one day go to the NBA Finals and play for a championship. I had 80% of the comments in my comment section telling me I was foolish for thinking that. Yeah, Giannis is okay. Yeah, but the Bucks will never be anything, Mike. The Bucks will never be anything. Decent conference belongs to LeBron at the time. Or, even LeBron leaves, it's going to be the Sixers. It's going to be the Celtics. Man, the Bucks just suck. That's just how they are. They suck. They'll never be anything. Well, you know what? From all of the Bucks fans, the real Bucks fans out there, and not some of you Johnny come latelys that's gonna come running around here now. Keep your ass from this channel because you ain't been here to the lean times. You ain't been there when the Bucks was, the Vin Baker and the Glenn Robinson years. You weren't there during the Michael Red years. You weren't there just a few years ago, say up until about 2017, 2018, when the Bucks, for the most part, in the last 30 years, with the exception of one or 3 or 4 years, for the most part in the last 30 years, the Bucks have been a bad franchise. But what people don't know is that from the Milwaukee Bucks, from the year that Kareem got there until about 88 or 89, the Bucks were always one of the better franchises in the NBA. In fact, as I have repeated time and time again on this channel, the Bucks were the best team in the NBA in the 1980s not to make it to the NBA Finals. And the Bucks have had a lot of great players to play for that franchise. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Oscar Robertson, Junior Bridgman, uh, who else? Bob Dandridge, I believe, is going to the Hall of Fame finally. Paul Pressey, uh, Jack Sigma, uh, who else? Terry Cummings, and who am I forgetting? Sidney Moncrief. That's probably one of the best. You know, Marcus Johnson. The list goes on and on and on as far as great Milwaukee Bucks players. Of course, Vin Baker. Unfortunately, he didn't have the dedication needed to be an all-time great. Glenn Big Dog Robinson, Sam Cassell, Ray Allen, so many greats. But Giannis is special. Giannis may go down right now as at least the second greatest Buck ever. And if he can lead this team to a championship, in my opinion, he's right under the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This is the first time in 47 years that the Milwaukee Bucks will represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals. And that finals, the Milwaukee Bucks, who were in the Western Conference at that time, back then they were in the West, they played the Boston Celtics in that finals. Boston ultimately winning the championship. I think it was in 7 games. But it's satisfying, especially considering the fact that most people didn't have the Bucks pegged to win tonight. Giannis didn't play tonight because of the injury that he suffered in Game 4. Did not play in Game 5. Ruled out for Game 6. Trae Young, who also was hurt, I believe, in was it Game 4 as well? I believe, or was it Game 3? Can't remember what game it was, but he didn't play. I think it was Game 4 as well, but or earlier, but he didn't play in Game 5, but he did play in Game 6. And no. Trae Young got hurt in Game 3. Didn't play in Games 4, Games 5, but he did play tonight. Uh, did not have a good game, um, but he did come on a little bit as of late. The Bucks were fortunate that earlier on Atlanta was misfiring, and from watching the game, you got the feeling that Milwaukee should have been up by 20 points at halftime. And once again, because Mike Budenholzer is a horrible fucking coach, the success that he had in Game 5, he wasn't replicating because why? He went right back to shooting outside instead of attacking the paint. You know, now the Bucks did burst it open with a 44-point third quarter. Chris Middleton, who wasn't doing jack shit, in the first half with only 5 points, scored 23 in the third quarter, 23 to 44 points, and the Bucks just blew it open after that. But then Atlanta went on something like a 23 to 21 to 7 run, got back within striking distance, but the Bucks were able to hold them off. I think Chris Middleton finished with 30 points, um, and they did it without Giannis. And this is good. They were able to close this thing out because now Giannis hopefully can be ready for the NBA Finals. I know that leg is very sore. Hopefully, each day it gets a little bit less sore, and with treatment, hopefully, he'll be right. Let me also say this, man, and this isn't just a snap reaction or a knee jerk reaction from me. I'm looking at every game, all 6 games of this Eastern Conference Finals. Reggie Miller was so biased to Atlanta Hawks, it was ridiculous. Every phantom bullshit call that Trey Young or anybody else got, he said it was a great call. Meanwhile, when the Bucks were getting mauled, he was saying, "Great no call." Every comment that he made was very congratulatory or positive about the Hawks. A lot of his comments were indifferent or negative about the Bucks. And it ain't just in my head. He was very biased toward Atlanta Hawks in this fucking series. He looks at Trey Young and sees some similarities. Everybody knows shooters root for other shooters, so fuck him. Okay, fuck Reggie Miller and his biased bullshit. I like him as a player, but he's fucking biased as shit in this fucking series. And that was it for Marv Albert. He's retired. That was his last game and maybe he'll go and spend his remaining years sexually assaulting more women and biting them on the back. You know, because of course these lesbos and feminazis don't have the same energy for people that look like them. You know what I'm saying? This is a guy that was accused, not accused. He was found guilty of sexual assault with a woman. You know, but of course, where is the same energy? Well, whatever. We're not. We know that story. But back to the basketball, man. I'm just so glad that the Milwaukee Bucks have done what most people said they weren't going to do. And you know, look. I know this isn't the finals that most people anticipated when the playoffs started, but the fact that you have the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA Finals is interesting to me because it looks more like a finals from the 1970s. You know what I'm saying? The Phoenix Suns went to the finals in 1976. Milwaukee went to finals in 1971 and 1976. But of course, you know, you don't have Gar Hurd, playing now. You don't have, uh, you know, Lucius Allen playing now or Bob Boozer. You know, this is a new generation. And either two things are going to happen. Either Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns are going to win their first championship, or Giannis is going to win his first title, and Milwaukee's going to win their second NBA championship. Either way, this is going to be a very significant NBA Finals, and there's going to be a slight changing of the landscape. Now, is this going to be a permanent thing? A lot of people are going to say no, because injuries to marquee players played a big part in why both of these teams got to where they did. I do want to say this too. Um, I didn't like what uh, Paul George said about why his team lost. He said, well, they lost because they didn't have Kawhi Leonard. And while you could come to that conclusion that if they had Kawhi Leonard, they probably would have won the series, you could also say that, well, if and Anthony Davis didn't get hurt, the Lakers might have beaten them. So you got to be careful how you play that game. Because I know if the Nets were fully loaded, they probably would have been very tough to beat. And whether Milwaukee would have beat them would have been really questionable. I'm aware of that. But you got to play that game with every series. If Boston was more fully loaded, if they had Jaylen Brown, look, they still won a game without Jaylen Brown. Maybe with Jaylen Brown, it would have been more competitive. Maybe it would have went. What did that series go? 5. Maybe that series would have went 6. Maybe that series could even went 7. Who knows? So when you play that game, man, it's dangerous because people forget when their teams benefit from injuries. They only remember the series when injuries hurt them. So the Clippers still had a great season, but it just wasn't meant to be. Sometimes these things, unfortunately, happen. You often wonder if the Phoenix Suns would have beaten the Houston Rockets if they had Danny Manning that year in the playoffs. There's a lot of things you can go back and say woulda, coulda. What happened if Len Bias never dies? What happened if Reggie Lewis never dies? What happened if Larry Bird back didn't degenerate and he played, until he was 37 years old or 38? You never know. You know what I'm saying? But if Isaiah Thomas didn't hurt his wrist in 1991 or 90, so that's all I got to say, man. Well, tell me what you guys think.